Has been led by ACORN Canada. I think in the reports this was pretty elaborately discussed. I'd like to reprise it again so that everybody's clear on the international side. We're talking about May 31st, 10 a.m. a bill being introduced in Canada. I think this is an opportunity to have some kind of solidarity action with that bill introduction in Ottawa, and as many of the ACORN International affiliates as we can get to sign on to this. I think it particularly would be important in Honduras and Mexico, where in each of those places we may have opportunities to see similar legislation move forward in the future. So it gives us an opportunity to raise up the issue locally while citing Canada as being the first one to dive into the cold water and finally start to look at regulating this. If there is traction that starts coming up from BC as well, that just helps build something that looks like momentum. I haven't forwarded all the written reports to you because they came in after people were on the road, but one of the things Italy would also like to do is figure out a way to move their political relationships and do something in Italy on the remittance campaign, which could also help fire this. Now the question becomes whether or not this model legislation is a model anymore. So that's, we'd be saying look to Ottawa. What's your view on how this is evolving and whether or not?
Well, you know, it's hard to tell what's going on because they seem really open to adding whatever we want in there, and then they say that what we add in there looks good, and then they send me back a new draft. Is this what you mean? And then they've taken out a couple of it, and you know, and then they're asking things like, with the 5%, we wanted to include the costs of sending the money plus any fees on the other end. You know, I just think I think it's more of a communication issue than a like they're trying to water it down. So
I think we should probably assume that at some level, no matter what we say, it'll be watered down less than what we wanted.
yeah.
So if we still have something that we could say is a model piece of potential legislation that we put on the website.
It's got a 5% cap in there. I mean,
Yeah, I think we take whatever is our best piece of legislation, put it on the website as this is the model, and then no matter what evolves on the 31st, that becomes what was introduced in Ottawa. It doesn't have us negotiating against ourselves, trying to, in Toronto, I'm sorry. Oh, is that right?
it's provincial. It's Ontario.
Gotcha.
It's not
So
the
it's not
banks.
Ottawa
It's
at all.
Western Union and MoneyGram and all the money transfer organizations. Not, and the bill specifically says it's everything but the banks.
Okay, right. I knew that. Toronto.
Yeah.
Well, Toronto's better.
And Ottawa's doing something in solidarity though, so yeah, it's in there.
And do you think this is something we could do in
We
Victoria?
talked to folks. I think they really, they said, we've heard folks in Ontario working on this. We really want to see what they're doing. It hasn't been, I'm kind of waiting for the 31st.
And that's appropriate.
Hitting hard.
Well, definitely we met with somebody who's the head of a parliamentary committee in the Senate in Italy and had this discussion. He spent years in the U.S. His English was, he got some kind of PhD at MIT or whatever in economics. And so once so he knows English very well, and he's somebody we want to give the model bill and the Toronto bill to as soon as we have it as well. And then in Honduras, I guess we'd want to translate this bill into Spanish. So how could we do that in a timely fashion? You'll get it sometime soon. We'd have to get somebody to be able to.
It's short. It's 2 pages.
We just need to find somebody.
Yeah.
Preferably, you'll get it, and if you could get it translated in Canada quickly, then we could all get it up and around quickly and get some discussion going about it.
Spanish.
Why don't we all put our heads together?
More
and
fun,
think about it?
yeah.
We did have some volunteers, but I've never really been able to get that much out. We had some translating
Marcos
volunteers.
would be great.
Spanish?
Marcos speaks Spanish.
Yeah, but I never got,
Smart
I
guy.
never could get it to work.
Get Marcos to do it.
Dilcia has a friend who can translate.
Dilcia also has a friend who can translate it, so,
Okay.
huh?
Then it's English.
I understand.
We could also, what about Ursuline?
Huh?
What about Ursuline?
Yeah, I think good luck with that, and if she did it, I think that'd be wonderful, and I'll make sure you have her email address. So, I think the biggest problem we have is we still haven't caught fire on the issue. You know, we dedicated 100% of our George Brown intern this year to this campaign. James, I think, did a very good job, you know, wrangling her in the
Working the
campaign.
joy.
Working the joy with the work. Always joy. Talk about an Excel gone wild there. I can't even keep up with those charts.
Joy 2.0 is just getting fired up this week.
Yeah.
Somewhere later.
Yeah, oh, good.
Barb.
I look forward to hearing about that.
Yeah.
But we just haven't got the pop on this campaign anywhere. I mean, we haven't gotten the sizzle. We're not getting boost anywhere. The press is, even with Joy's work, I mean, none of the sort of immigrant-based groups has really taken it and run with it yet. I do think we need some way to create a bigger alliance to move this, and it's just not happening for us yet. So we'll get a Vaz in, but they're really interesting people to work with. And they get it a little bit more, but no sizzle, no bounce, and they're very transactional. Their theory of change is how to get more people to sign a petition. So they'll test it in Canada, and if less than 5 or 10,000 people sign the petition urging the provincial government in Ontario to pass it, they'll just say, hey, sorry, Wade, I mean, love you, buddy. But and then even if they do the petition, it's not like we'll get a little publicity. A couple of days you'll get a bounce on the website because they'll link to us, but we're down the list. I mean, it's all theirs, you know. Same thing with Lead Now. I mean, it's the same theory of change if you talk to Jamie and Biggers and them. And all that I respect, but none of that really creates a prairie fire like we need for this campaign. So I think that's something we need to figure out a way to put our heads together. I'm, going to be with the Canadians next month at the AGM and whatever. So we'll continue working on this, but we shouldn't fall asleep thinking somehow we got the tiger by the tail. I think we still need some work, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
And this is Debbie Positive here.
no, I mean,
This
we
is
don't
Debbie
have any
Sunshine
false
here.
sort of
Yeah.
reality that the NDP introducing a private member's bill means it's going to pass, right?
Right,
We need the
right.
Liberals to support it.
Yeah. So, maybe somehow we're hoping we can keep juggling these countries around till we get some more traction here.
I mean, we do have some plans that we could go over now or later.
Well, when would be the later? Why not now? Why don't we start now?
So, in summary, what we're planning on doing in Ontario moving forward is once this bill's released, hopefully we get the press off of it. I mean, that's the goal of that, is introducing it, getting it moving, and where the actual event on the 31st is at the Press Gallery at Queen's Park. So, Jill's already coordinating a solidarity action at Western Union on the same day to hope to garner attention there, and then moving forward for the House rises at the end of June.
I thought it was the end of May. I could be wrong.
No, it's into June. Oh, it's the middle of June. It goes
Or
right
is
to
it-
like the 11th of June or something like that.
Is that the House or is that like committees?
No, that's
meeting?
the
Okay,
House.
okay.
And then the committees meet a bit further, but trying to trying to do some lobbying on the liberal MPPs that are in our membership chapters. So the Minister of Consumer Affairs, where this is under, is in Scarborough, where we have a density of members. We've actually got somebody door knocking and calling right now on that. So, you know, put together a group of members to go there, and then move forward with meetings throughout the next couple months with various liberal MPPs that will force commitments to support the bill.
Well, does it make more sense to do the solidarity around the Western Union action or around the induction?
You mean with Jill's action?
Yeah. What day is that?
It's on the same day.
So,
It's just
what
that-
should be the target? Should we go, maybe we should go to Western Union and say they should support this bill? I'm just trying to figure out who we hit.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jill's thought was just a target to stand outside it. We could go to.
We're good. Yeah, that first step's a bad one. Thank you. Muchas gracias, señor.
We could go to a liberal MPPs or something. I mean,
Well, yeah, you could do that. I'm just trying to figure out what actually.
it's just a means to get for us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might do better hitting a Western Union or a MoneyGram than
And
in
they,
terms of encouraging solidarity actions in Honduras and Mexico.
Yeah.
a lot of those liberals might be sort of soft targets.
What's that?
A lot of those liberals might be sort of soft targets. I don't know if some of them are assholes and bigger in their offices. You know.
Like they might support us.
Yeah, we're
Like
kind of
Western Union?
counting on that, right? Like some of these liberals, like, you know, just
Oh, I see what you're
agreeing to
saying,
support
yeah.
this bill or something like it, you know, over a
Right.
like at a meeting. Anyway.
Yeah, we don't think the liberals are going to for sure be total assholes on this.
My experience with all this is fairly brief and not that wonderful, but by far the best thing that we did in BC was just having a really good leader who can speak on it, uses it, knows how to explain it all. So I don't know, I need to work on that in BC.
We've also met with liberal MPPs in Ontario and asked them to support this campaign, and they've said yes. Like Natalie, Laura Albanese, you know, both kind of liberal backbenchers, but solidarity from Mexico and Honduras and from Western Union, that'd be awesome.
No, and I'm sure we can do something in Argentina
Yeah.
and Lima as well. So, yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you haven't had good success in getting press.
What?
You had good success.
Yeah,
in
that's
press.
what I'm saying. And like it didn't. The first couple times I did it when we weren't, it was just we want to regulate remittances. It wasn't anything. But when Pascal started saying my people need the money, my parents are living in a famine, it just made it simple. And then we started getting the, you know, I guess we all do Pascal and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? I just and you know this. I'm just shoot my mouth off. I'm just shooting my mouth off.
Yeah, Russell.
Well, I think a backdoor ally could be, I've had some experience recently in dealing with the Catholic Church's fair trade committees. Turns out Catholic social relief, is that the name? Catholic Relief Services, CRS. Catholic Relief Services, which is a global program, has a big fair trade component. There's a big fair trade campaign, and a number of archdioceses and dioceses around the United States, and I would bet elsewhere, have fair trade committees now trying to convince Catholic institutions to use fair trade. Now, in some cases, this is CRS fair trade certified, not regular fair trade, but because they've built such a Latino base, they actually were fairly good in talking about remittances as well. And the Catholic Church is not huge in Canada, but it is huge, you know, in Honduras. and
There's a lot of Catholics in Quebec and the Maritimes.
There you go.
Jill
Joe O'Reilly.
And there's a
Joe
large,
O'Reilly. Well, and I liked your African emphasis. I mean,
And like, all the immigrant organizations in Ottawa endorse them.
is it?
Did you hear
Sorry,
that?
wait, where,
yes, and I thought that was fantastic.
where is it that Catholics have signed on to the campaign, like geographically?
To say signed on in a joy way, you know, where they've actually signed something, nowhere. But in terms of talking to me about fair trade coffee in New Orleans and several other dioceses, and I've raised the remittance campaign, there's obviously a fertile ground we could plow.
Okay.
So I'm just throwing that out there as a potential ally resource we should target on this campaign. They also have social apostolates in many archdioceses that focus on Latin communities. So that could be a target as well for support on the Remittance Justice campaign.
Yeah, there's that large community of Latino Catholics in Toronto, San Lorenzo, that's on Joy's list.
Oh yeah, the whole Catholic school board. Oh my God, I forgot about them.
Yeah, okay, well, this is why we're having brainstorming here.
We got some Catholic teachers union.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have those in the United States. They're against the, you know, Catholics won't recognize any teachers in the United States, but you have them in Quebec, I know.
In Ontario,
And
OECTA,
all-
and they've given us money
All,
before.
it's publicly
It's a
funded.
publicly funded, like, religious school board.
Well, we have this whole separation of church and state, although,
We never went there.
yeah, well, it
You know,
turns
the old
out there's no,
monarchy.
in the Republican ranks, there's no deep commitment to it either now. Yeah. But it's been going on for a couple hundred years. We thought it was more institutionalized, turns out not so much. It's just, you know. Okay, so that's Remittance Justice. Let's keep focusing on that. It was interesting, who was talking about microfinance as a campaign? Honduras, somebody?
Louise was saying that they've split up the Remittance Justice campaign into Dilcia working with the politicians and Louise working with the institutions.
Excellent. In terms of, okay, moving on along, so I think there is possibilities there. I think this fair trade thing, if we, is an interesting campaign. I mean, there are probably 3 people in the world outside of, you know, some who read our fair trade report. Any of them here? Okay, there's 1, 2, and then I think Josh looked at some of it, so that's 3 right there, and then who knows how many more people. But it turns out that the whole fair trade program and the whole flow certification program in the United States is now being run by the Canadian organization, because the U.S. tried to disaffiliate in order to make these diluted Starbucks kind of deals. And from the right and the left, it's all under fire because nobody can agree who's got the perfect pearl in terms of fair trade. And consumers clearly aren't ready to pay a premium for fair trade products, at least in coffee. I mean, and I can tell you, from the fair grinds perspective, you know, we can charge the same thing Starbucks does, but if we charge more, we got a problem. So that's an interesting thing out there. This whole cooperative relationships and who deals with cooperatives now, and how you deal with fair trade, and whether or not, it turns out when we met with with Tatiana, our compañera in Honduras, that many of the producers in Latin America are forming their own small producers competitive label to fair trade, sort of self-certifying. I met with a roaster, it was a cooperative called Just Coffee in Madison here a couple of weeks ago, and they dropped out of the fair trade certification because the certification process was that they got a phone call from the fair trade organization asking how much fair trade coffee they roasted, and that was going to be their certification. So now they certify them. So, you know, it's just anarchy out there. Well, that's an opportunity if we could figure out that campaign, because there is a campaign that combines the Via Organico kind of people we saw yesterday. If you looked on the website for his operation, the U.S. part of the base has 850,000 organic members. Newsletter, whatever, that's read by 30 to 50,000 people. You know, it's not our base, but it's a very significant base. And then Via Organico is their Mexican counterpart, both of which that fellow Ronnie who was showing you how to, you know, use a gourd runs. So that's a big operation. And organic is even different than fair trade. So it's wild out there. But to the degree food and water are becoming issues even for our people, it'd be worth some longer, you know, a longer dialogue at some point. In terms of ACORN International, just to continue where we're going on this, so I love the George Brown College, but you know, and Joy was a good intern, but we aren't getting mass numbers of George Browners anymore. They're going steadily down. I don't know that I've got anybody particularly in the pipeline on the George Brown. The other Canadian intern colleges didn't produce anything this year.
I gotta.
Wait, the George Brown, like they'll start coming in strong soon. It's just the
School.
yeah, it's the cycle. They're all done right now, but they'll start calling again soon, and we get lots of calls. It's just they've typically been very difficult to make productive. So there's never any supply of George Brown.
Yeah, well, I want them, and you know, we've done very well at making them productive. I'm just saying, in terms of recruitment, for a while, it seemed like every time, the first year, every time we turned around, we had another one calling. We had 4 or 5. Then Joy is about all we had this year. The rest of them sort of punked out after.
No, we kept a couple in Toronto.
Well, I'm talking about ACORN International. I'm giving an ACORN International.
I know, but how are they? Is George Brown University contacting you, or are we forwarding them after they've contacted the Toronto office?
No, I'm talking about those that came directly through ACORN International.
Okay.
Like Joy, like Paolo, like, you know.
Well, Toronto could probably help you beef up the international.
Yeah, well, we need a beefing up. I mean, particularly because to some degree we're willing to put some of our interns on the remittance campaign, but it turned out we only had one. That's the decision we made with Joy, but she was our only intern. So all I'm giving a report of is our capacity with ACORN International turned out to be less exciting in that area. We had one other good intern. She did a report that probably that had to do with remittances between Eastern European countries, and she's doing another report for us right now as a volunteer about industrial tourism and its impact on poverty, which is I think another great issue in the becoming for the international work.
What is industrial tourism?
Yeah, what is it?
Well, it's the povertization of service workers, like in Jamaica, New Orleans, Las Vegas, Miami, many other areas. Orlando is certainly a good example where you try to manufacture tourist destinations that are not necessarily authentic, but are, you know, sort of mass produced on a low-wage service economy. Many developing countries believe that they have a future in tourism, and so that model that brings in, you know, big hotels, low wages, is a permanent one, and it's unclear that that's an economic development model that works well. Just like micro, you know, we're Debbie Downers out there. Microfinance, we're not so sure. Fair trade, you better know, yeah, we got something for you. Tourism, oh, that looks good. No, you know, resource, we want you to look at tourism now. So this is pretty much how we roll at the ACORN International. And this is a Hampshire person that's unemployed. who's done great work. And we've tried to help her get employed. I mean, we haven't done a government sweat, but we've done what we could. But other than that, and then the big opportunity we have in the intern world, which is kind of scary, is we went through a lot of hoops and a lot of changes to try to convince the Clinton School of Public Service, located with the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. Not the University of Arkansas Little Rock, but the University of Arkansas out of Fayetteville's Little Rock operation next to the library. They have a huge international program, and well, it's not huge, but it's a new program. They have about 50 people, and they make a significant financial investment for them to get international experience. So we have one person this year, this summer, who was going to come to this meeting and it didn't work out. So he's going to be in Mexico on the 29th of May, starting an extensive interview process both of remittance users as well as government officials in Mexico. This is what we're using to sort of get more traction in the Mexico side of the campaign. Clearly we've got issues around that now, but Nuno is his name, Nuno Alvarez, and he shows up here on the 29th. They're paying for him to fly around, housing here, all that kind of good stuff. We're hoping that works out for us. Obviously we're scared about that a little bit. But I then pitched them for a number of other interns, for Italy, for Honduras, for Darabi, for 3 or 4 areas, and we've won in the first round that we might end up next summer with these Clinton School of Public Service people running around for free for 3 or 4 months for us. So if we can get some traction on that, that could be really good for us. But it's really painstaking. It's a whole lot of academic stuff, a lot of different reports going back and forth, things they want me to read. But I think we're hopeful that helps our capacity. And they like the remittance campaign. I think I really made progress with the professors there around why remittance should be there. They should partner as an entire institution with us on the Remittance Justice campaign. And then if we could get them to, I met with the head of the school briefly, who used to be an old Clintonista. We knew him from the old days in Arkansas. He worked forever as a Clinton guy in the administration. So we're hoping to see if we can get past first base here and run. Self-sufficiency. Canvas, we were very close in Buenos Aires. We'll hear more from her report tomorrow. Turns out she had experience as a canvasser. David Tasso in Italy has experience as a canvasser. For 3 years I've been trying to talk Corporate Strategies, Inc., which is a huge herd-based canvas program. It's where Zach Tillett works now, and the head of that was one of the biggest people to argue for ACORN staying alive, and tried to convince me not to resign. And so but I've tried to convince them, let's bring your program international, come canvas in our cities for ACORN International, solve this problem. And I keep not winning, but I keep getting closer every year. I've done CommuCap, we've done our coffee houses. Arts